Hey guys, Thomas Cicely Jr. here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie The Bad Guys. If you end up enjoying my full review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my Discord, the second to my Patreon, third to my PayPal. Any donations are greatly appreciated, and shilling will be reminded at the end of the review. So with shilling out of the way for now, let's talk about The Bad Guys. So I'm a little bit late on this movie, as you can probably tell, but I did eventually get around to seeing it after hearing some pretty good things about this movie, and in all, I think it fits that bill of being pretty good. This being a DreamWorks movie, so probably not as big or epic of a scale like, say, a trilogy of DreamWorks movies like, say, How to Train Your Dragon or something along those lines, or Kung Fu Panda, just to say the other obvious example, but it is still a pretty good, solid movie if they decide to have it be a solo movie. If there was a continuation, I'm not sure where exactly they would take it, because the direction the characters go in, again, I'm not sure what they would do exactly, but here we are. So, anyways, we follow a wolf, and luckily all the characters' names are pretty much based off of the animal that they are, so if there is an altercation, I didn't catch it, or maybe I wasn't paying enough attention, but a wolf, so therefore named Wolf, and a snake named Snake, are celebrating the snake's birthday, and he is not too happy about that, but they're proceeding to do so anyway. After celebrating for a little bit, they walk out, or slither out, depending, since we're talking about a snake here, and the people that are around them are totally freaking out. So we see them move across the next building and take some money and a heist and drive off. During their escape, they pick up the other passengers, including a piranha, a shark, and a tarantula, the other team members, each one with a specialized talent. He himself, the wolf, are sort of main characters, like the main escape driver. We have the piranha, the crazy guy. We have the tarantula, the hacker, the snake, the code expert, or the vault opener expert, I should say, and the shark, the disguise master. So those are our crew, and as each of them are introduced, that is how we're introduced to them by what each of them brings to this team. The wolf drives them nearby the police station just to make the chase a little bit longer. So we get we get a lot of their character through this chase of, like, they love the thrill of, getting away with their crimes. So they escape to their hideout successfully. We see briefly that Snake and Shark are fighting over some popsicle stick, which actually has something to do with the plot, so we'll get more into that a little bit later. Anyway, we see one of the other only animals in this, because everyone else around them appears to be humans, is a fox. This fox is a governor, and she calls them low-rate criminals, and they are so offended because they thought that they were doing the top score, but she reveals a potential new thing for them to steal in the process, this being this golden dolphin, which is, well, golden, so pretty pricey, most likely. So they prep up and make their plans much like a heist movie. If you've seen a majority of heist movies, or have seen, that sort of, you've probably seen the plan phase, sort of, trope or cliche or whatever you want to call it these days. However, how they go about the plan And during it, we see how they're pretty well communicatingly going through it, and their slip-ups as well. The fox talking, or the wolf talking to the fox, making very sure to get herself a picture with her, to get her eyes in the photo. The snake sneaking into the shaft. We see the process of which the wolf does something out of the ordinary during this little stealing thing. He sees this old woman and is ready to steal from her, but she's about to fall, so he proceeds to save her, and she calls him a good boy, and he begins freaking out as his tail starts wagging. And when I think of this wolf, I very much think of Legoshi, of what's that? Beastars, from Beastars. Which is funny because in the narration we see that our wolf explains that he is betrayed, or the wolf is betrayed as the bad guy in pretty much anything, or throughout history, and that's close to accurate as far as many of the older tales of wolves in media, and certainly all the other animals portrayed in this movie aren't exactly animals you would probably say are the cute and cuddly kind, that being the snake, the tarantula, the shark, and the piranha. Definitely animals you probably wouldn't normally say are cute and cuddly under circumstances, but I do find it funny that there is actually another example of a wolf that is a little out of the norm, but I guess this movie probably wasn't aware of a Japanese show, or, it's possible, but it is also technically very recent, comparably, so I guess that wouldn't count if you're talking about old stories. Anyway, a little fun fact and stuff aside, so the rest of the plan seems to be going accordingly. The shark pretends to have a baby to cause a distraction. The hacker gets into the hard work, pressing the beep boop boop buttons, pretending like I know what that means, but it works. And through their process, they are able to snatch the item away at the very last possible second. However, right as they are about to walk out into the night, the wolf hears the good thing, overhearing it, and his tail begins to wag, and in the process of that, they get captured and arrested. This is where they meet the guinea pig, and he's willing to give them their first chance, because according to them, every perception of them is they are the bad guys. As soon as they walk into the scene, they are the bad guys. This has been their entire lives. This is all they have ever known. And I really do like this premise of people being perceived as one thing for so long that they, this is very much in line with actually another Fox character in, what's the movie called? The Disney one, the one with Judy, and I forget the other character's name off the top of my head. Yeah, that character. Anyway, and how the perception of him was so much of him being a crook and a thief that is kind of what he ended up sticking to a degree, because that stigma just became a part of his character, which I find fascinating when you think about that and try to relate that to a real life situation. And to a degree, I think that kind of makes sense. I mean, all you have to do is alter the emotion to sadness, and that becomes very relatable. If you get told you're in the out group, you're an outcast, you're nothing, you're nobody, you're not going to have any friends, if that is the perception you hear long enough, you're going to get sad, you're going to get depressed. These things lead into each other and bleed into each other. especially if it happens over and over and over again consistently. And so again, when these bad guys are told that they're good, it comes off as a completely like, huh, kind of switch. So the wolf, while they are given this first chance to be good guys, they say they're going to play the good guys to continue to be the bad guys. And while they are at this guinea pig's place, the snake is given a task to share a popsicle, which, again, they use that again, and he doesn't, for the second time now. And then they get tasked with saving other guinea pigs, and they kind of do it to a degree. And this is where we see another heist setup story, where they're setting it up and they're kind of doing it, and we see Snake sort of shift in his personality, more so because it's dealing with something he loves to eat, that being guinea pigs. So he's actively participating, and the others are like, what is going on with him? Why is he doing that? And they're completely not, seeing the full picture of why he's doing it that way. Meanwhile, the snake overhears, while they're chilling at the base, about the guinea pig and how the wolf is the guinea pig is setting Wolf aside and saying that he can either choose to be the good guy, but he would have to sacrifice the rest of the group to do so, because the rest of the group, according to this guinea pig, is sort of, pulling him back toward, being the bad guy. So that kind of pisses Snake off. So he makes sure to check on Wolf to see if he's gonna stick to the plan. And as we see their plan go into action this time apart, the plan in itself starts to fall apart bit by bit, with the wolf getting more distracted by the audience and the applause because they made a one-time save the animal video and it went viral. So now they're being perceived as the good guys because of that one thing. The fox dances with him. The others are trying to move. During this process, they get ready, or the wolf proceeds not to go through with it. However, in a surprise twist, at least to the characters, the meteor that was being shown off in this little thing is gone. And as the bad guys are being the ones perpetrated and criminalized here, they are actually not the ones responsible this time around. However, of course, due to that stigma, it is that stigma that gets them more so in trouble rather than seeing the evidence. And this is when Wolf figures out that the guinea pig is the one behind it, putting together all the pieces, including even the old woman. Apparently that was him in a disguise. I don't know how that works exactly, considering how small the character is and whatever. Anyway. So, this is where, during their little prison moment, the snake fights with the wolf, seeing how he perceives this as a betrayal. But as they're about to be arrested for the good of whatever amount of time, a ninja comes in and takes down the police, and we've realized that it is the fox character, and we learn that the fox is actually, she already considers herself to be the number one true thief among them, and she even talks about this a little bit more, saying how she was very much so in the same light of the group that we're seeing now, but she eventually came to see that following that stigma that has been following her, just wasn't something that she wanted anymore, so she changed her light around. So they escape. The wolf heads over with the fox. The two of them are getting ready to, now that they're free, to set free or to stop the guinea pig, while the others are too upset with Wolf right now. So the others return to the base, and this is the third time we see the snake with the popsicle, but this time, without even thinking about it, he just kind of, the shark is so sad, he's like crying, and then the snake slithers over and hands over the popsicle, and everyone's so shocked because, according to even them, he was like the most downtrodden among them, or the most stigmatized to be bad, and even when he's explaining it himself, when they're talking to him, they're saying, "You just did a good thing," and then he explains it, and it doesn't even click. It doesn't even click to him. Like, he said, "Oh, I just did it because he's sad or whatever," and he doesn't realize that equates to being good because he's been stigmatized for being bad for that long. Like, that is how bad it was for these characters, is that they don't even recognize clapping as another example of this. And again, the snake said two different things about how he was trying to alleviate the shark's emotional state, and it didn't even click for him that was conceivably a good thing. So I find that quite fascinating. Also, and this is more true among superhero movies, but at least among a lot of the superheroes, typically it is more favorable or more commonplace and we appreciate it more if the villain has a connection to the hero, or the hero has a connection to the villain. And this is actually quite the case, whereas the heroes often create their villains in some form or shape, or rather connection in that way. In this scenario, the bad guy, aka the guinea pig in this circumstances, is technically the one who ended up creating the heroes, because in this instance, they're starting to realize that they want to be good at this point. Even when the snake goes in the elevator, we see a little bit of a cutaway, so the others are like, we gotta, do something. And so, with all that being said, we see the snake join the guinea pig, and the others are going in for trying to stop him. So they try to take the meteor, and they end up taking a fake meteor. They change course right when they're about to reach the police, because they are like, they get it, and then they realize that they didn't get the snake back. So they drive off right when they're about to, do the right thing. So they do the right thing, but it's once again perceived to be the wrong thing. And they are chased by an army of guinea pigs. And this is where the snake is betrayed and dropped, where the wolf drives off into this, drop ledge, I guess I'll call it, and hooks them up. And the destruction of, something that, heads up, I forget what it is, I think it's a helicopter or something, or something heads up, and then it controls it breaks the device that controls all the guinea pigs. So it's a 2-for-1 save of the animals, as well as this heist this crime being prevented as well. And as we see, we cut back as the snake is proudly presenting his shift to being a good guy. We see it right back from the perspective of him entering the elevator, and we see that he also, like the others, really likes the form of the wag of his snake-like tail. The others were wagging when they felt the first time of feeling good as well. So that is the perception of like what it means to be good. That is how it's presented in this animation. Is they wag, whatever, like the shark and the piranha both wag their antennas or whatever, the fins. Sorry, not antennas. And the tarantula kind of just shakes your butt. Anyway, so he's celebrating that he was the one that was able to overcome this and ultimately do all of that. And the wolf also acknowledges that he was the one who left that last push-pop thing in the refrigerator, and that completely floors Snake as to almost like a reveal, like, oh, I knew that you wanted to be good too, so I left that for you just to make sure. So, they turn themselves in because they technically did still do crimes, and I really appreciate that for the ending, because, again, they are criminals, but since they did also simultaneously do the right thing and save a potentially even bigger crime, all things considered, they get off after a year's work of good, presumably good, Samaritan work or whatever, and they go off and they ride, and the wolf does an ending narration just like it and says, see, things are different now, and as they drive off and do whatever they're going to do. And that was The Bad Guys. Quite enjoyable. It follows pretty much a heist movie trope for the most part, but then kind of flips it by having the heist crew now wanting to stop a potentially bigger heist by turning them into the good guys through the new bad guys, or the bad guy singular, wanting to do this bigger crime. And that was that. Yeah, really good work. The characters have little moments, each of their own, so we get to see little highlights of what each character brings, particularly during the heist scenes, and seeing them transform and in the case of Snake not even realize that shift, that character development happened to himself, until he hit the elevator, and then we get to see the result of that later on. So, character development, everyone has a arc, a shared arc, but an arc nonetheless, in terms of the bad guys wanting to be good. That's their shared arc. But again, each of them brings something a little different to the table. Each of them bring their talent. So it'll be, again, independently, I think this movie is great. Or I should say solid at the very most. In terms of plot problems, I suppose, like the heist thing, the cliche of it in itself is the biggest convenience that I could potentially even find in this entire movie, and that's, again, being as objective as possible. Like, they know the schematics of, like, the thing they are about to rob without even scoping it out really that much at all. And that much is to save time, obviously, as they're kind of going through the actual, like, is it one-to-one what they're saying, or are things falling apart? And that's probably where more of the fascination comes in, is when is it shifting out of what they are planning to do, is how the characters are able to either, act accordingly, or shift to meet that, new hurdle that has come up that wasn't a part of the plan, or to even later on in the film completely change and feel like, as Wolf does first out of the characters, that he wants to clearly not be the bad guy or be perceived as one of the bad guys anymore. So outside of that one convenience, I'm kind of struggling to figure out if there are any really, like, things that bring this movie down. So I think out of a general score, I think a 7 out of 10 is where I would stick this movie. It is a solid movie, which, out of everything I've seen as of late, I don't remember the last movie I've given a 7 out of 10 recently. So it's a bit refreshing to see a movie that's actually really solidly done, at least at first watching. There's potentially more errors that I could probably, if I were to break it down even more objectively, might spot. But there's always that question of, whatever. Anyway, but for now, that is my full review of The Bad Guys, and if you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head over to my Discord server, the second to my Patreon, the third to my PayPal. Any donations are greatly appreciated, and until next time, everyone, bye-bye!